In our efforts to understand the pandemic that we're in our pursuit of real kingdom justice, it's right for us to work, it's right for us to remember also that God is the one who initiates the work. God is the one who sustains it. There's what we do, and then there's what God does. And what God does, we don't do because we cannot. Accepting that we are created, that we have needs, that we don't know everything, that we're not God, but we are the child. We are utterly dependent on the Lord for our sustenance and for our nourishment. That is humility. And this isn't a reason for us to feel humiliated. This isn't humiliating. This is how we cultivate humility. There's no shame in having needs. There's no shame in asking our good God for what we need any more than there is shame in a child asking her mother for food or for help or for comfort. But even amidst the need, there runs a deep well of contentment in knowing that we are the child. I'm reminded of Jesus' words in Matthew 18, when the disciples are trying to vie for status in God's kingdom. I'm going to read it. We'll start in verse 1. We'll read through 4. At that time, the disciples came to Jesus and asked, "Who is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven?" He called a child whom he put among them and said, "Truly I tell you, unless you change and become like children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. Whoever becomes humble like this child is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven." Become like children. My soul is like a weaned child. There's always work. There are always needs. Rowan needs fed frequently. She gets upset. She makes mistakes. She needs help. She gets hurt. Last week she got stitches. Rowan has responsibilities. She's got to clean up after herself. She has to contribute to our housework. She has a responsibility to learn about facts. She has a responsibility to learn how to engage with other people. She has a responsibility to grow as a person. But even in those needs, even in that work, it still doesn't make the time she spends near me in my bed or on the couch any less real or any less sweet. Church, we know that there is work to be done. We look injustice in the face daily these days. We're responsible as those who are called to proclaim God's kingdom presence on earth to do something about it. That's our calling. And we know that there are needs. I know that this season feels impossible on so many fronts. But still, I want to encourage you. I want to exhort you today to find your rest, to find contentment in God's presence anyway. When we talk about the kingdom of God, we frequently say that the kingdom is now, it's here now, and it's also not yet here. We live in a perpetual state of discontentment with the world, and yet we are able to experience deep contentment in the Lord. I don't know how that works. It's now and not yet. Become like children. Be content with not knowing everything or not being able to do everything. But be content in knowing that you have a perfect heavenly parent. Psalm 131 is a pilgrim song that reminds us who we are and where we're going. I'm going to read it again. O Lord, my heart is not lifted up. My eyes are not raised too high. I do not occupy myself with things too great and too marvelous for me. But I have calmed and quieted my soul, like a weaned child with its mother. My soul is like the weaned child that is with me. O Israel, hope in the Lord from this time on and forevermore.